Hey you guys, it's Amy Gretchen. Welcome back to another Project Life Process video. So in this video, I'm actually going to be using Ali Edwards' Story by the Month kit to do a spread from 2014. So I'm going back 4 years and I am going to be doing a week in November, which is awesome because it will go perfectly with this kit. Before I get started, I just wanted to let you see a walkthrough of this kit. So this kit always comes with 4x6 cards, 3x4 cards, a 3x4 set of stamps, and then some chipboard. So here is just a look at the 3x4 cards. And what I think is really great about the Stories by the Month kits that she puts out every month is they're monthly themed. So if there's a holiday in that month, then you'll have some cards and some elements that work really great with that holiday, but also just around the theme of the season. So we're getting some really great fall and autumn, but also some Thanksgiving cards and elements because that is the holiday for the month of November, at least in America. So I know if you're outside of America, what's really awesome is these Thanksgiving and gratitude themed pieces are really fantastic to use all year round because there's always something to give thanks for and there's always something to be grateful for. So I love that about these kits, that they can be used for the holiday, but they can be used for in other ways, excuse me. But I also really love that you are able to cut up the cards as well and use them to your best advantage. All right, so here is some of the 4x6 cards. And I really enjoyed having these colors match the theme of the season, which is very autumn and fall. We've got the browns and the oranges and the yellow. So I just think it goes really well for this time of year. All right, you guys, so that is the kit. And then we are just going to jump into putting together this spread. So you can see that I'm going to be cutting up all of my pieces and then I'm going to put everything in place. Recently, I've had a few people ask me how I actually print out those 3x4 photos having a border around them and making them even all the way around. I will have a video linked below that shows you exactly how I do that. If you're interested, definitely check that out. Okay, so now that I've got my photos in place, I'm looking through the cards in the kit and trying to decide which ones I think will go best with this week and which ones will help me tell my stories. And because I'm actually doing the week of Thanksgiving in 2014, of course, there were a ton of cards that went really well with this week. I really like the card or the quote that says, "Thankful, blessed, and mashed potato obsessed," because everyone in my household is so in love with mashed potatoes and especially my mom's mashed potatoes. And so I thought that that would be a really funny card to use. So I really liked that sentiment there. So you saw that I was working with some movie tickets and I added a paper clip to the 3x4 card. So I just wanted to make mention, if you want to do something like that, like add a paper clip, especially onto the side of a 3x4 card, you're definitely going to want to make it just a little bit smaller so that it will actually fit inside the pocket, just because the paper clip kind of hangs off the paper a little bit. So anyway, just wanted you to keep that in mind as you're working, if you ever add some ephemera or anything like that with a paper clip. All right, so you guys, I wanted to mention one thing that I've been thinking about as I was working through this spread, and actually the one that I did for the November Stories by the Month kit. So this is actually the October Stories by the Month kit, and it is November themed, but the November Stories by the Month kit is actually December themed. So they're kind of a month in advance. And as I was working on both of these spreads, they were both from 2014. And what I realized is, because there's been so much time passed between, you know, the events that took place this week and where I am today, I chose photos differently. And I am probably telling different stories than I may have told. So I just thought that that was kind of an interesting thing to note, that when time passes, you may see things a little bit more importantly than you would prior because it's happening right then. And maybe you see it all the time. And so you feel like it's totally normal and then it's going to keep happening all the time, but then it stops. And you don't know that until you go back and you look in time and you realize, oh yeah, my daughter doesn't say that anymore, or we don't do that anymore. So I felt that I was looking and telling stories a little bit differently. So I just want to remind you, if you are behind, or if you have books that haven't been finished, definitely go back and finish them if you have a desire to do so, because it is so valid to even go back a few years later. This is 4 years later, and tell those stories and get them written down. I was actually thinking to myself, it might be a little bit better to work on Project Life after some time has passed, just because you have a little bit more perspective. So I think it's great to do it right away, like right after the week is finished. And I do that all the time. But I think that there is also something to waiting a little bit and telling those stories a little bit later. Now, in order to keep these stories fresh in your mind, I would suggest keeping a story journal. I also have a video about my story journal, because I keep a story journal every single week, and that helps me to go back in time and then know exactly what was going on, not only in the photos, but stories that I actually did not get a photo of. I can know what was going on with my children. I can know what was going on in our lives, and then I'm able to tell a more fuller story that way. So I would definitely suggest keeping a story journal, whether you're up to date on your project life or not, just because it's a really great thing to be able to do to remind you about stuff that's going on. But anyway, so just something to think about then. Is it better to tell your stories right away, or is it better to have just a little bit of time in between? I don't know. What do you guys think? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I've actually really loved doing both. I've loved working on my 2018 album, and I've loved going back to my 2014 album and finishing that. It's actually been it's been a lot of fun for me. All right, you guys. So what I was just working on, you've been seeing me put down the chipboard and all that stuff, but I wanted to make mention that I just skipped through all of the journaling. So I started the journaling, skipped through it to the end, just because I did one card after another. And now I'm working on that card that has the movie tickets. And I decided that I wanted it to have kind of a base. So then I just drew a black outline around it. And now I'm adding a chipboard just to add a little bit of dimension and a little bit of something to it, because I wasn't doing any kind of journaling. I was allowing the tickets to speak for themselves. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is I grabbed over this 4x6 card that had a place for a photo and then some journaling. And I really liked it. And I thought, you know what, that'll be perfect. I just need to reprint my photo. I do hate doing that, but I felt that this would work out really well for what I was trying to do in that 4x6 slot. So I decided to go ahead and do it. And I really liked this 4x6 card. And now I'm just going to be doing my journaling. And you saw that I'm going to add that chipboard that is going to be between the photo and the journaling, that, you know, has a way of connecting both of those together, even though they are on the same card. I just think it adds a little bit there. And of course, I'm having a little trouble with my adhesive, and so I had to get some more adhesive. It's always good to have a backup adhesive. I feel like sometimes you run out in the middle of a project, so you have to have something on hand. And then I'm just going to add that chipboard down. Oh, and the reason why I pulled over the backing there is because I was thinking about maybe punching a hole into the photo and then sticking the chipboard in between. But I decided just to put it down right onto the photo. You know, it just ended up being one less thing to do. All right, so now I'm going to be working on the title card. This is the last thing that I'm going to do. And because it's black And I haven't had the best luck with just using white pigment ink. I decided to use my VersaMark ink, which is a sticky ink, which allows me to put embossing powder on top. And I decided to do gold embossing powder. This is Simon Says Stamp Antique Gold. And because I forgot to use my anti-static powder tool, I got some random bits of powder that I just cleaned up with a brush. So make sure to use an anti-static powder tool, and that way you won't have random bits of powder getting all over your card. But if you do, you could just brush it away with your finger or a brush if it's too close to the stamping. And then I just went ahead and heat set that, and you can see, isn't it so magic when the embossing powder melts? I absolutely love that. And I think the gold is super pretty. You'll definitely see me using that in my December daily. So you guys, I am completely done with this spread. Hopefully you guys are able to get some inspiration from it. You can see that I just added little bits and pieces of the chipboard, but mostly left my photos clean. I've definitely been enjoying doing that a lot more lately. And then just one more added touch, you can see I add that give thanks onto that photo. All right, you guys, we will catch you in the next one. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and we will see you next time. Bye.